Hello, I'm Tom Suter, the founder of the Advanced Technology Academic Research Center, and we have Steve Schlarman with RSA today. He's portfolio manager over there, and he's going to talk today about managing digital risk in transformative times. And indeed, we have transformative times going right now. Welcome, Steve.
Thanks, Tom. Thanks. I'm happy to be here. So yeah, it's I'm not going to use the unprecedented word, but it is a very interesting time that we are facing today. And RSA last year executed a survey. We conducted a survey across multiple regions and multiple industries. And I wanted to start there because we got some interesting insights from the respondents in the federal space. The first that jumps out is 83% of the agencies of the respondents were in active digital transformation, meaning that the modernization of government services is rippling across a lot of different elements of those agencies. They're automating tasks with technologies like machine learning and chatbots and advanced analytics, along with broader use of cloud technologies and this not only affects the workforce, but it affects the infrastructure as that digital footprint expands. The other interesting points from the survey were the top digital initiatives were moving workloads to the cloud, indicating that that movement to that technology platform. The work anywhere, which is obviously a big piece today when you have so many workers working remotely, and the trend seems to be going in that direction. And then the second, the third digital initiative was expanding the digital footprint through the use of IoT. And that goes to the second bullet point of the agencies using different types of sensors and analytics to monitor the situations and help manage disruption to critical infrastructure. And the last point that jumps out from this survey was that the top digital risk areas were cybersecurity, privacy, and workforce-related risks, which is an indicator of that government systems have always been the target of malicious actors. But when you couple the expansion of the capabilities in the threat actor world, along with the technology adoption to provide these digital services, it creates a significant risk profile. So you have expansion in both areas. You have expansion in the capabilities of threat actors, and you have the expansion of the digital infrastructure within agencies. So this is it's a well-known fact that government systems have always been the target, but these two factors really increases the amount of digital risk. The other thing that I wanted to talk about today is obviously the disruption that we have all seen this year. There have been ripples across all types of industries, and government agencies are no exception. And we can look at those disruptions in four kind of key areas. The first is in operations, simply because of the nature of the pandemic and government services being many essential services. Disruptions in those areas are going to change processes and affect how those services are delivered. The second area is the workforce. We all feel this working from home. We have the school closures. You have this added area of anxiety that your workforce feels, and this is a major area of disruption. We also see that from the technology perspective as organizations, agencies, and companies alike are all using more remote capabilities. The third area that we've seen a lot of disruption in is the supply chain. Now, this depends on the nature of the disruption, depends on your industry, your region, and so forth. But this is one of the rare occurrences where disruption has affected all organizations across the globe, and therefore anyone that has some type of supply chain, whether it's physical or a digital supply chain, has felt some effects. And the last area is, I kind of alluded to this, is the perfect storm from a security perspective. You have the kind of fragile operations side, as this disruption is changing the way organizations and agencies work. You have the, unfortunately, the bad guys don't take the day off. And you have the element of using the pandemic as a way to be used in phishing campaigns and other types of attack scenarios. Now, when organizations and agencies alike are facing all these disruptions, they generally go through kind of four loosely defined stages of containing the disruption, which is the immediate emergency steps, sustaining the operations, so let's keep things moving forward. But then they move into phases of assessing and adapting. Assessing is really looking at what are the controls that have been perhaps relaxed during the disruption or have been changed because of different factors in the disruption. And the adapt phase is really what are we going to do after the disruption, or the move back to the new normal, whatever it is. So we've seen agencies expand the remote workforce. We've seen agencies having to manage continuity and vendor disruption. For instance, we've had the reliance on cloud solutions, which was one of the top digital initiatives, actually helped within this situation. But all along these phases, agencies are making decisions and they're having to adjust their operations, their approach to risk, their approach to security. And when you take all of those decisions in concert, they can really be summed up in 8 key areas: compliance, managing process automation risk, which is really the adoption of things like chatbots and advanced analytics. Resiliency is an obvious element of managing risk in this disruptive period. Third-party risk, we talked about the supply chain. You have dynamic workforce, meaning the changes in your workforce. Data governance and privacy is always going to be there. The cloud element, and obviously, last but not least, is the mitigate cyber attack risk. So these are 8 core areas of what RSA terms as digital risk management. And when you look across these 8 areas, there's really 3 major initiatives or strategic efforts that organizations have to take a look at. And this is what we see federal agencies looking to do, is first evolving security and risk management to support that digital transformation. The acceleration of digital initiatives is expected because of the nature of the disruption of this year. So the delivery of products and services through digital means has helped agencies meet some of these challenges during the disruption. So to support that digital transformation, the evolution of security and risk practices is necessary. So we've seen this, for example, when OMB Circular A123 came out, and enterprise risk management has become more of a topic for agencies in the public sector is learning, just like the private sector, that ERM is no small undertaking. So the first major strategic effort is to look at security and risk practices and how are those practices meeting the needs of a digital transformation. And automation is going to play a big role when you look at processes like risk assessments or security assessments. The second strategic effort is obviously, as digital services depend on the infrastructure, you have to understand and appropriately respond to cyber threats. That's not going to go away. The malicious threats are real and can lead to disruptions, data breaches, reputational damage, financial impacts, and you have to think of these threats across the whole expanse of your digital infrastructure. So that means cloud, mobile, IoT, and even the third-party ecosystems that your agency is working on. I mentioned earlier, one of the top initiatives in many agencies was the expansion of the digital footprint through IoT. So this is especially relevant for those agencies that are doing that. And then finally, the regulatory landscape is going to remain. So obviously there is a history of compliance within federal agencies, and as digital services are increased, you have to keep an eye on the privacy and the data regulations that are affecting those types of systems. But when you focus on these three strategic areas, that helps an organization build an integrated approach to managing digital risk. I like to say that the risks are as hyper-connected as your agency. So as you connect more and more systems, you leverage more and more third parties, you introduce new technology, infrastructure, and architectures, all of those increase the connectivity within your agency, and therefore all of the risks in these 8 areas have to be connected through some strategic initiative, and RSA terms that as digital risk management. So I appreciate the time to give you this overview of RSA's perspective on digital risk management. And Tom, I thank you for the time.
Thank you, Steve. And I love your background. We'll have to get into that at another point about your guitar collection. That's Steve Schlarman, a portfolio strategist with RSA. And we'll get back to the rest of the programming.